another coach who has won a couple times, 2 MLS trophies to be exact. He's been in a final 4 times, lost 2 of those up in Toronto. Greg Vanney. I know it's been a topic of discussion, but I thought we'd touch on it here. Um, no wins, 10 losses, 4 draws on the season, a miserable start, worst ever by a country mile from a team that's a defending champion, Benny, in Major League Soccer. Gets a contract extension through 2028. Again, one of those things we were talking about in production yesterday. I'll give you my thoughts in a second. I want to get your thoughts on the timing of this. And look, I know in Europe it's been fodder for a lot of conversation about how can this happen? You know, these Americans don't know what the hell they're doing. I have my thoughts on this. I'll get yours first.
Well, the timing is not the best, obviously. I think it's a weird timing. And look, if you pull the curtain back a little bit, I think you have to understand why this happened. And from everything I've heard, you know, they won the trophy last year. They were the best team in MLS. They were fantastic to watch, the most entertaining team to watch, in my opinion, last year. And they ultimately won the whole thing. And so, you know, from that, I think Greg Vanney's more than earned a new contract, and the conversation started during the offseason, and it just wasn't able to be completed because both sides were probably not agreeing on whatever number of years or whatever number of money per year, you know, Vanney was going to receive with his new contract, and it kind of dragged out. And the negative part is that it dragged out to a 14 game without a win, you know, and so it became a really weird timing to announce it, to finalize it. I think that's why we saw it. You know, could it have been where I don't know how these things work, but could it have been that it was something that was agreed upon, and then maybe they could hold off on it until, you know, LA Galaxy start turning it around? Because I can't see them just not turning this around at some point. It might be tough to make the playoffs at this point because they're so far behind, but at the end of the day, they have a good team. They have a few injuries that are going to come back soon. You saw Gabriel Peck and you saw Paintsel playing in this last game against LAFC. Obviously, when Ricky Puig gets back, I just can't see this team being anything but one of the better teams in this league. Will it be enough to make the playoffs? I don't know, but they could have maybe waited to announce it. But I think that's the decision they made. And so it's a weird decision. It's obviously a terrible start. And look, I think that some of it is 100% on Vanney. He's shown that he can be a top manager by winning multiple MLS Cups, one with Toronto, one with the Galaxy. But even with the injuries and the players that have left the club, you know, he lost Mark Delgado, he lost Dejan Joveljic.
Brugman. He lost
Brugman as well, who was the MVP of the final. And obviously the 3 DPs who have been, you know, either completely out or in and out. I think even with the roster that he has, without all those players, you can't lose, you know, you can't not win 14 games in a row in a league that's built for parity. So that's on Vanney, but I think we'll see that turn around at some point.
And get drubbed by the Red Bulls, right? Was that 7-0 or 7-1, whatever it was?
7-0.
I mean, it was just a drubbing, and I mean, they look so out of it in that game. They've scored 12 goals, conceded 33 on the season. As I mentioned, 10 losses, 4 draws, haven't won at home in 6 games. Road record, okay. Obviously, they haven't won, but 8 games, you might look at that. If they won some games at home, it'd be different. I'm with you. I don't think that they make the playoffs because they're already 14 points below the playoff line. When Ricky Puig comes back, a massive piece of the puzzle, clearly. And you mentioned Paintsel and Peck coming back. Those 3 last year with Joveljic were outstanding to watch. The question came up, and this is what started the conversation. What will it take for Greg Vanney to get fired? I just think that they've made a decision to say Greg Vanney is our guy, right? He's our guy. We're sticking by him. It helps also when Ricky Puig goes on social media and is constantly backing the manager. And then when this announcement comes out, puts the clapping emojis, the clapping hands on his Twitter and all of that stuff. And that stuff helps, right? Because clearly your superstar is saying, no, this is the guy to lead us. I think what they did last year was they sold themselves out for winning a championship, spent $20 million on Peck and Paintsel. That benefited Vanney. Keep in mind, though, his contract is through 2028, so it's 3.5 years of a deal. If he doesn't make the playoffs this time around, it will be 3 of the 4 years in LA that he's not making the playoffs. So that's always going to be a question mark with the fans, right? That's always going to be, do we need to buy a complete team in order for you to win a championship? Can you win something? I'm in your mindset. I've had them 4 times, I think, this year. And I come out and I look at the players and I'm like, the roster they have right now is better than the roster that they're playing against, but they're being completely outplayed in this game. Right. And that's the part that's baffling to me.
And it seems like with Vanney and the Galaxy throughout his tenure there, it's feast or famine, right? Because the one year that they made the playoffs, they won the whole thing. And so, look, it is not that difficult, as we all know, to make the playoffs in MLS. There's a lot of teams that make the playoffs. Now it's 9 out of 14 or 15. I think 15 now. So it's more than half the teams. It's not a difficult measure. And so we've seen that difficulty in the years that don't go well. But I think that what the Galaxy ownership and Will Kuntz and GM have seen is that he is the guy when everyone's healthy, right? He's proven it with when he has the top players, Paintsel, Peck, Puig. Obviously, Jovic is gone, so he's not going to get him back. But can Christian Ramirez do the job, or can they, move the pieces around? Maybe Paintsel plays the 9. He played the 9 when he came in against LAFC there at the end of the game. So can he move these pieces around when he gets all these players back and be the coach that you saw last year? And obviously, like you said, Ricky Puig backing the coach up, and Ricky Puig is arguably the best player in this league at this point, right? He's definitely the best player on LA Galaxy, and he's one of the top players in the league. You have him backing you up and you're going to make your stars happy. Well, then maybe that's the best decision. Now, we're not seeing it right now, but who knows how quickly they can turn it around when everybody's back.
Yeah, Matt says here on your screen there, absolute insanity to give him a new contract. Look, I want to try and get it in my brain, right? Because I like to think about these things like you're just talking about logically, like everyone that they're missing, everyone that they had to get rid of. The other thing in the equation, Benny, and because you've been behind the scenes, you don't know what the planning is moving forward, right? You don't know what they're saying with regards to, okay, I don't know all their contract situations, but they've got them written on a big wall and everyone's studying them every single day and saying, this is what it's going to look like in June during the transfer market. This is what it's going to look like in the offseason. And by next year, we need to be here, right? Whatever that here is for them. Those are the conversations we're not privy to in this thing, right? And I think those are really, really important conversations. I do question the timing of this whole thing. They could have signed this thing behind closed doors and not announced anything. I wonder why they had to come out with the announcement at this point. Maybe to deflect a couple things that are going on, change the conversation, let the players know, yeah, we're behind all of you and we're behind the manager. That might have something to do with it as well. And that's really important. Once you lose the guys, I mean, that's it. There's no getting them back.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. I think that the reason, if there is any reason other than just, hey, it happened, so we're going to announce it, I think the reason is for that. They don't care about the outside noise, right? Who cares what fans think, what pundits think, what everybody else thinks? Like, we're going to do what we're going to do because we think it's the right decision. And the positive is we're going to let all our players know it as well. And so if everybody inside that building is connected, regardless of the outside noise, that could build strength in that building. And maybe that's one of the things that they're looking for.
Well, I was around that building last year during the finals. They were connected, man. You'd have never thought that this would have turned out this way so early. But it's a crazy moment to think that a guy would get a new contract. But I just got to believe that this is their guy.
You're still here? Yes! I absolutely love that. Listen, while I have your attention, if you want more average to good soccer content, this is the channel for you. Go check out our other videos. Go check out our playlists. And if you're really liking what you're seeing, I don't know how you couldn't, hit like, hit subscribe, of course, and then turn on your notifications so that you do not miss anything that we drop or when we go live. We'd really appreciate that. We'll see you next time.